So we're down to the final 8 teams in the Asian Cup, and I know I did a knockout stage prediction video from the round of 16 all the way to the final. If you guys haven't watched that video, make sure to go and do that. But I thought it would just be fun, since some of my predictions were absolutely wrong, to just do a quarterfinal prediction while we wait for these matchups to happen in the next couple of days. And I originally planned to have Jack and Albert on from Deadball TV, but unfortunately Jack is he's not doing too hot. He is sick, and he wants to rest up before the quarterfinal matchups start so he can go back to doing content for this tournament. So we're going to be riding solo in today's video. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that, because we all love what I have to say when it comes to Asian football, and more specifically the Iranian national team. So now that we got that all out of the way, let's jump into the predictions. And post-production, I will just throw in the nation in those little rectangular bracket blank areas on Wikipedia with the nations that I predict to advance that you guys will find out in this video. So for the first matchup, we have Tajikistan versus Jordan. Both of these nations complete surprise packages so far in this tournament. Tajikistan, their first ever appearance in this tournament, and could be possibly their first ever semifinal finish in this tournament. A fellow Farsi speaking nation, and I want to see them do well, but Jordan, you can't sleep on them. They did beat Iraq, who after their performance against Japan kind of became a lot of people's favorites in this tournament, but then just absolutely blew the match against Jordan in the round of 16. After the red card, they capitulated completely. And big shout out to Jordan. That was a crazy, amazing match. When it comes to this quarterfinal matchup, these two are probably the last minnow nations, or you could call them like bogey teams, left in this tournament. So the winner of Australia versus South Korea is definitely going to have a fun time in the semifinals, in my opinion. I'm going to go with Jordan in this game. I think Tajikistan, they've given it all they've had in this tournament. I do want to see my fellow Farsi speaking nation do well in this match, but I just think they're going to have ran out of gas because they had to play that extra time match against the UAE going all the way to penalties, and I think that's going to do a lot of wear and tear on them. I'm going to go with Jordan in this game. Next up is Australia versus South Korea, and not really many people are talking about Australia in this tournament, even though we're at the quarterfinal stage. They still aren't really spoken about as favorites in this tournament, which is kind of surprising to me, because Australia have looked pretty decent throughout this tournament. Nothing spectacular, but nothing really that horrendous from them. Most of their games have just been, box standard good results, excluding this Indonesia match where I felt they played really well, but at the same time, Indonesia haven't been that great in this tournament. So it didn't come as much of a surprise that Australia absolutely mollywopped them in the round of 16 match. South Korea, they played a pretty good match against Saudi Arabia, where that was definitely the best match of the round of 16s. Two of the favorites going at it early on in the tournament. South Korea needing that late goal, but in all honesty, I felt they were the deserved winners. They dug in deep. They stuck it out all the way to penalties, won it in penalties. I think it might be a little bit too much for them, but originally, before this tournament even started, you guys all know, I picked South Korea to win the whole tournament. So I think I gotta go with South Korea based off of my original prediction, but my gut feeling is I think Australia will probably win this one 2-1. But for this video and for my original prediction, I'm going to go with South Korea. Next up is Iran versus Japan. And if you guys didn't know, I am planning to do a watch along for this match. It's going to be at 3:30 in the morning for me. So make sure to be there for that watch along. Click notify me when you guys want to know once I go live, or just subscribe and have notifications on if that's easier for you all. But when it comes to this match, we will be watching it live. I'm absolutely shitting my pants. Obviously, the big storyline for Iran is that Mehdi Taremi won't be playing in this game. He got a red card in the match against Syria. Iran didn't play particularly well against Syria. They did dig deep, get the win. Syria didn't really have many chances whatsoever. Their goal came from Iran just doing their Iranian national team thing by causing their own troubles defensively. Syria really didn't create their own chances in the match. Japan, they played pretty well against Bahrain, but again, the big X factor for them is Zion Suzuki. He scored an own goal. His disaster tournament continues, but luckily Japan haven't faced an opponent that absolutely punished them outside of Iraq. So if Iran kills them in the aerial duels, be it hopefully Sardar Azmoun, where finally this guy needs to have one big game for the Iranian national team. He hasn't had one. He's been called the Iranian Messi for ages, but he hasn't had one big game for Iran, be it in a latter stage match in the Asian Cup, be it at the World Cup. I don't even think he actually has a goal for Iran Iran at the World Cup. This could be his big opportunity because he's obviously going to be starting. The loss of Mehdi Taremi is going to be big. He has big weight on his shoulders, and can he finally, with all this experience from being at Zenit, going to Bayer Leverkusen, now Roma, can he finally use all that vast experience from goals in the Champions League, Europa League, to just have a big performance for Iran in a big tournament that matters, not just against these minnow nations in Asian World Cup qualifying? Can Azmoun finally step up for Iran? We'll find out what actually will happen in that watch along. But in regards to my prediction, I think I'm gonna go with Iran. You know what? Originally, when I did do my knockout stage predictions, I did go with Japan. But you know what? I want to show some love to my Iranian boys. I think at some point there's got to be the time where this Iranian national team, this group of players that has just been with this team for 10 years, they've been plucking away at it, finally have a big match for this national team. Even though my prediction god status head is telling me Japan, I'm going to go with Iran. My heart's telling me otherwise. I got to back these guys. I'm going to go with Iran in this situation. Next up is Qatar against Uzbekistan. Qatar had a pretty okay performance against Palestine. Uzbekistan actually had a pretty good game against Thailand. I was quite impressed. I think that match against Thailand is one of the more underrated matchups from the round of 16. I did say that Uzbekistan were my dark horses in this tournament, and I don't really rate Qatar, so I'm just going to go with Uzbekistan here. That would mean my semifinal predicted matchup would be Jordan versus South Korea, and then Iran versus Uzbekistan. When it comes to Jordan versus South Korea, I don't see how South Korea does not beat Jordan, even though these two nations already faced off in the group stage. And if it wasn't for a late own goal, they could have had a historic win against South Korea in the group stage. But I think Jurgen Klinsmann and all the star power that South Korea has will learn from those mistakes. And this time will actually punish them and won't have to rely on the other team having to score the goals to save them in the match. So I'm going to go with South Korea in the final. When it comes to Iran versus Uzbekistan, we already kind of saw a small snippet of this matchup in World Cup qualifying because both of these teams are in the same group in World Cup qualification. Iran had a really good first half performance going up 2-0, but then Iran national team fashion decide to, not stay concentrated for 90 minutes, make defensive errors. It ended 2-2. I very much highly rate this Uzbekistan team. I've had high praise for this Uzbekistan team for ages. I think this national team is on the come up in Asian football. But for the here and now, I'm gonna go with Iran. I'm going super biased in this video. I know you guys might not like it. It's kind of unlike me to do it, but I gotta go on the Iranian national team hype train. I'm gonna go with Iran. So that would mean a South Korea versus Iran Asian Cup final. Jurgen Klinsmann versus the Iranian national team, the guy who absolutely bagged Iran in the previous World Cup. Iran would have the chance to possibly get their revenge against that coach. That would be an absolutely storybook final for this tournament. Again, I don't know if it will actually happen, but again, boys and girls, my opinion only matters so much. Let me know your guys' thoughts in the comments down below. What are your guys' score predictions for the Asian Cup quarterfinals all the way up to the final? Let me know your guys' thoughts in the comments down below. Don't forget, as of now, it is planned that we will be doing a live stream watch along for the Iran versus Japan game. Even if you're not a Iranian national team fan, a Japanese national team fan, it's loads of fun if you're an Asian football fan. So make sure to be there. And boys and girls, I hope you'll have a lovely day.